when I was in my early 20s, I went on a trip to Mexico with my best friend Kylie. We each got our own room just so we could have more space. It was a lower-end hotel, but the rooms were cheap and it was decent. We really couldn't afford any better at the time. We went towards the end of October, around Halloween time. Mostly, we were just going to party and cut loose. We didn't have a ton of plans or sightseeing that we wanted to do. When we got to the hotel, we were pleased to find that it actually looked a little better in person than it did online. It wasn't a resort, but it wasn't a total dump at least. We headed to the front desk to check in and ran into this creepy-looking guy there. He kept checking us out and staring at the both of us hard and kind of eerily. We were both pretty grossed out by him. He was obviously a creep. He advanced toward us and seemed like he wanted to say something, but we ignored him and tried to check in as quickly as possible so we could walk away. The man checked out and seemed like he was going to leave, but instead stayed in the lobby and kept staring at the two of us. We checked in and were escorted to our respective rooms. We were both happy to get away from the man. We decided to meet in the hallway a few minutes after we had gotten settled in each of our rooms. When I got into mine, it seemed clean and tidy, but it had the worst smell ever. It was absolutely foul. I almost felt sick because it was that bad. I called the front desk to complain and requested another room, but they told me that the hotel was completely booked. They suggested I just open a window to air the room out. I was pretty upset, but I didn't really have a choice. There was nowhere else to stay. I opened up the windows and headed over to Kylie's room to let her know what was going on. She said that she was sure opening the window would do the trick and I didn't need to worry about it. I was still annoyed, but I didn't want to let it ruin our vacation, so I tried to follow her advice. The rest of the day we explored the town and hung out in Kylie's room while we waited for my room to air out. Later that night, when it was time to sleep, I headed back to my room. I hoped that the odor would be gone, but it was somehow even worse. Opening the window had done nothing. I really didn't want to sleep in there, but I didn't want to make Kylie share a bed with me, so I tried to make the best of it. About an hour or so later, I had finally managed to fall asleep despite the smell. That's when I was awoken by a knock at the door. It was around 2 in the morning. I figured it had to be Kylie, so I headed to the door to open it. I checked through the peephole real quick to find out that it wasn't Kylie outside at all. It was the same creepy man who had been checking us out earlier. I was freaked out that he was outside my room so late at night. My first instinct was to call the front desk for help, but I stupidly decided not to say anything and hoped that he would just leave. That's when the man knocked even louder and said, "Open the door! I forgot something in the room after checking out earlier." I started to feel creeped the hell out, so I called to the front desk to ask for help. The man banged even louder. The doorknob began to rattle and it sounded like he was trying to break down the door like some psycho. I screamed for help, saying,
"Help! He's breaking in!"
Then suddenly, the banging stopped a few minutes later. The hotel staff and Kylie came to check on me not long after, but the man was nowhere to be found. The staff assured me that they would investigate the matter the next day and said that I should try to enjoy the rest of my stay. I didn't get much sleep that night. The next day, I told Kylie that I was skeptical that the staff would actually do anything about what had happened, but she convinced me to move past it. I reluctantly agreed. We were there to have a good time after all. Throughout the rest of our stay, we never encountered the man again. We had a great time going to different parties and celebrating Halloween, but every time I went back to my room to sleep, the smell had only gotten worse. One night, it was so bad that I threw up after being in the room for only a few minutes. I called the staff again and complained. I begged them to clean the room or check the vents or something. There had to be a way to get rid of the smell. They finally agreed and told me to wait in Kylie's room for an hour or two while they sent some maids to take care of it. I was happy that they were finally doing something about the problem and waited eagerly with Kylie while they cleaned the room. An hour later, the staff called and told me something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. The maid said that they had found a dead body under my bed. That was what had been causing the smell. It had been there the whole time we were there. They checked the security cameras and all the latest check-ins to find out who could have left the body. It was revealed that the same creepy man from before had checked into the very same room with the woman, who eventually was the only one to check out. Ever since that time, I've been traumatized around Halloween. It was a constant reminder that I had slept in the same room, on the same bed, literally inches away from the body. This story was inspired by a disturbing, real-life Halloween incident that happened in Mexico in 2016. Around the time of Halloween, several guests had checked in and out of a room from a hotel called Hotel El Senador. The visitors all complained about the smell. After about a week leading into the beginning of November, the maids looked where they obviously had not been cleaning. That's when they found a dead body under the bed, wrapped in plastic. The body belonged to a woman which identity remains undisclosed. The visitors had no idea they were sleeping with a dead woman, but the last guest felt something was just not right after checking out. Hotel staff said the woman checked in with a man but never checked out. There have been no updates regarding any possible suspects since.
They're so dumb. Don't they know there's no escape from Michael Myers? Why do they even bother running? Come on, stupid TV. I'll be like him someday. I want people to make movies about me. What do you think, buddy? Do you think I have what it takes? It sure would make it a lot quieter around here if I could just get rid of them all. Michael Myers could do it in a flash. Man, all those other loser villains have nothing on him. I can't believe Dad won't let me go trick-or-treating on Halloween. That piece of old trash won't let us go out. What does he think I am? Some kind of powerless little wimp? If he would just leave already, it would be fine. But no, he has to stay here and yell at Mom all night. I hate them so much. That's it. It doesn't matter how scared we are of Dad. Michael Myers isn't scared of anybody. Everybody is afraid of him. If we have to wait much longer, Halloween will be over, and we won't have gone trick-or-treating at all. So if Dad won't leave, then I will.
And where are you going, you little creep?
To go trick-or-treating. What do you think?
You idiot! You know neither of us can leave while Dad is still down there.
Shut up. I know you're not going trick-or-treating. You just want to see your boyfriend. What is he, the fourth one this week?
Mike, get back here. You'll ruin it for the both of us.
And the other one is just as much a devil spawn as you!
Do you even remember her name?
Of course I do! She's called Clone of the Woman Who Ruined My Life!
I swear to God, if you disrespect your daughter one more time...
What are you gonna do? Complain?
I don't understand what you want from me!
Stop crying! Why are you wearing that stupid mask? It's my Halloween costume. My Halloween costume. Spit it out or just shut up!
Stop making fun of him!
Do not tell me what to do, you brainless bimbo! Get back in the kitchen! Maybe you should keep that mask on at all time, little guy. Nobody wants to see that ugly face of yours. Now crawl back to the hole you came from so I can finish talking with your wench of a mother. No, Dad, I'm going trick-or-treating. What did you just say? Did I just hear you say no? You heard me? Why, you little punk! I ought to rip your brains out! Get back here! Open this door, you little rat! I paid for it! I'll break it down if I have to, and you're gonna regret it! So open up now! The longer you make me wait, the worse it's gonna get! You're just like your backstabbing mother! You'll get what's coming to you, boy! Mark my words! I hate you, Dad, but I can't wait for you to come home and see what you made me do.
What are you doing in my room? Get out! Michael? Stop it! Don't come any closer! Hey, whore! Will you keep it down? No naughty business! Hank, is that you? Are you finally back from cheating on me? Is that a ghost?
So, Mike, do you regret what you did to your mother and sister? No. Okay, but walk me through this, Michael. What do you remember when you were standing in your mom's room that night? What was going through your head? Like, can you describe anything you saw or heard? A wet thud. I see. Do you really believe that you are the real Michael Myers? This story was inspired by a disturbing Halloween case that took place in 2012. A male suspect named Jack Evans confessed that he took out his own mother and sister because he was inspired by the 2007 remake of the Halloween movie. Evans said that watching the movie gave him the idea because he was amazed at how at ease the boy was during the slayings and how little remorse he had. Evans also goes on to disclose a disturbing 4-page confession released during his trial, which spells out in intricate, matter-of-fact detail the thoughts and actions in the hours leading up to and during the slaying, which you can see here below. He has since been sentenced accordingly. Another chilling case that had the same Michael Myers-esque vibe similar to Evans' case was from a male suspect named Zachary Davis. He carried his attack in similar fashion and was even interviewed by Dr. Phil on his TV show. Both suspects have been highly compared on the internet as the real-life Michael Myers.
And what did it sound like?
There was this wet thumping sound.
In 2017, I had an encounter that ruined trick-or-treating for me. I was already starting to get a little old for it, but this was the nail in the coffin. Early in the night, I walked alone from my house to my friend's house so that we could go trick-or-treating together as Dragon Ball characters. I was Goku and he was Vegeta. There were a handful of people out on the streets wherever I walked, so I felt relatively safe. The one thing that gave me a bad feeling was the car I saw slowly cruising through the neighborhood, like it was surveying the neighborhood. I took note of it because I saw it loop around the same block 2 or 3 times on my walk, but it never stopped to get candy from any of the houses. It was a sketchy beat-up blue Nissan sedan. I didn't want to get caught staring, so I never got a good look at the person who was driving it. Overall, I tried to ignore it. I eventually got to my friend's house, where I told him about the weird car I saw so we could keep a lookout for it. My friend told me to stop worrying and that it was probably a parent looking for their kid or something. We moved on and got started roaming the streets with our empty pillowcases, but we were pretty disappointed by the number of houses that were actually celebrating Halloween. On average, only a couple of houses on every block were decorated and handing out candy. Most people weren't even opening their doors and had just left out bowls. This made us kind of annoyed, because barely anyone was seeing the costumes we spent a lot of time and effort perfecting. It took us 2 hours and a lot of walking just to get a significant amount of candy in our sacks. And then we realized we had to turn around and walk all the way back to our houses. We took a couple of extra detours on the return trip to get some extra candy out of the night. But by then, almost everyone had turned their lights off. The whole night felt pretty crappy. It was already the worst Halloween ever, and I had no idea how much worse it was going to get. After a while, we finally made it back to our part of the neighborhood. We reached my friend's house first, so we said goodbye and he went inside. Then, I had to walk the rest of the way home by myself. I didn't mind as it was only a few minutes, but by then, the night was totally dead. Everyone had turned their porch lights off and nobody was out walking the street except for me. Before long, I was back on my block in just a few seconds from my door, but then my heart dropped to my stomach as I heard a car pulling around the corner behind me. I instinctively knew it was the creepy blue Nissan I saw at the start of the night. I didn't even have to look over my shoulder. I recognized the sound of it. Psst. I tried not to act spooked and calmly continued walking toward my house. The car slowly drove behind me, getting closer. At last, I got to my house and walked up to my door. I was fumbling with my keys when I heard someone going, "Psst," trying to get my attention. I looked back and the car had stopped in front of my house. The window was down, and a creepy middle-aged man was smiling at me, leaning out the door and waving me over. Psst. I didn't want to go near him, but I felt like I had to talk to him or he would come back, since he obviously knew where I lived now. Reluctantly, I walked towards the car with caution, then stopped at a safe distance as the man said,
Trick or treat. What do you want? Do you want some candy, kid? No thanks. Get in. We could have a little hot box. I got that good stuff. Come on. I won't tell your parents. I'm not interested. I didn't ask. I'm telling you to.
In an instant, the man reached out of the car and grabbed my wrist. We got into a tug-of-war as I tried to break free, but he kept pulling me closer. I shouted for help, but nobody was around. Before I knew it, I was halfway into his car. At the last second, I pulled with all my might and kicked off against the car door, finally slipping out of his grasp. As soon as I was free, I sprinted back to my door and shoved the key inside. I rushed in and slammed the door behind me. Once it was locked, I looked out the window and saw the car driving off. I breathed a small sigh of relief, but I was extremely shaken up. For several minutes, I couldn't move. All I could do was sit on the floor in a ball and shake. I felt the urge to hide even though I knew I was safe in my house. I immediately told my parents and they freaked out. They called the police and made them do a full investigation. The police even interviewed me with a sketch artist and everything. I gave them every detail I could, but I never saw the man's license plate. Despite putting the sketch of his face and the details of his car on blast to the whole public through the news, they never found him. It's been almost 6 years now, and I've never gone trick-or-treating since. I've started just going to parties with friends and making sure I'm never alone when I'm out at night. Things started to get better for me once I finally moved out of my parents' house, because ever since it happened, I was terrified that the man would come back and try again. It's very hard to relax when you know that the guy who tried to kidnap you still knows where you live. However, even after I've gone to college, I still worry about that creep. All I know is that I don't feel safe with him or any kid for that matter trick-or-treating in our neighborhood. Every time I see a van, I think it's him again. A man is being sought after a teen trick-or-treater said he tried to kidnap him on Halloween in a neighborhood in Jacksonville, Florida. Police released a sketch of the man wanted for questioning in the incident. The teen told police the man drove up to him and asked if he wanted to get in to use narcotics. When the teen refused, the man exited the vehicle and grabbed the boy's wrist, then tried to pull him inside. The teen pulled away, and the man left the area. He is described as white with a deep tan, about 5'8" with slicked back salt and pepper hair, and a tattoo of a cross with a snake around it on his left wrist. His vehicle was described as a blue 4-door Nissan Altima with a dent above the gas tank. The man has since been at large.